Hi, thank you so much for becoming an essay reader for Momentum Education. We're so happy to have you on the team. My name is Christy Nguyen. I'm the student enrichment intern here at Momentum Education. Just to start, I wanted to talk about Momentum a little bit. Momentum Education is a nonprofit that helps low income students in Houston area high schools get to and through post secondary education, whether that be technical school, vocational school, community college, or a 4-year degree at a university or college. Our goal here is to help the students achieve their dreams. After watching this quick training, if you could sign the non-disclosure agreement, send it back to me. I will also email you back with a background check, and as soon as we have these things on file, we'll be able to start sending you essays for our students. So the expectations and logistics of being an essay reader, because these essays do have deadlines and are time sensitive in nature, we ask that you edit all the students' essays within 5 days of receiving them. Upon receiving an essay, I will email it to your email, and then I will also send you a text to notify you that I have just sent you an essay. I will do my very, very best to send you a reminder text at 3 days to remind you that you have 2 days left to edit the student's essay. Because we are using Google Docs, I ask that you also text me back to let me know when you have finished editing an essay so that I can send it back to the students with the resources we have put together. And then lastly, I ask that you just communicate with me. If you are too busy to take on an essay at the moment, that's all right. Just text me back right away, let me know, and I will assign it to the next available reader. And if you're no longer able to serve as an essay reader, please just also let me know so I can take you off of our list. Again, the time commitment for this is as flexible as you want. You can take on as many essays a month as you can, and each essay just takes as long as it takes you to edit. Please don't be overwhelmed with any of this. Again, we're all here to help you. Again, just all essays need to be edited in 5 days. Please text me when you are done editing the essay and just communicate with me throughout this entire process. So the next thing I wanted to discuss are essays that might require a rewrite. I do ask you to use this sparingly, but obviously we understand that sometimes the essay might not have enough content or appropriate content for you to ask questions, probe, and help them improve on. In those cases, I do ask you to text me back right away and I will work with the student to go through a rewrite. I just want you to keep in mind that ultimately this program is to help the student. And if the student needs a complete rewrite, versus an edit or feedback, you should let me know and we will work through it with the student, because if your feedback will not get the essay to a place where it might not be satisfactory for their college program or scholarship program, it might hurt the student more than help them. Reasons that an essay might need rewrites: if the content of the essay is inappropriate or completely about illicit or illegal activity that's not very painted in a positive light, if the essay is a straight list of accomplishments or hardships, or if the essay is entirely conceptual or made of idioms. For example, if the student wrote, honesty is important because telling the truth is important, telling the truth is important so people can have trust in you, and they kind of repeat those ideas over and over without using a concrete example, then that might be need for an essay rewrite. If in general the essay doesn't have enough content to encourage a student with questions, please just let me know and we will work through it with the student. Again, I ask that you use this sparingly because usually questions are a great way to get these students thinking and improving on their essays. I always want you to know that this is an option. The next thing I wanted to talk about is academic integrity. Here at Momentum, we have two core values, the first being integrity and the second being students first. So with these core values in mind, I want to talk about how important it is that we do not rewrite these essays for these students just because of integrity, and it wouldn't be honest to let these students turn in these essays under their name if we had written it for them. Also, in the interest of keeping the students first, it would not be helpful to the students to write these essays for them. We really, really ask that editing their essays, that in no way are you rewriting or writing these essays for these students, just in the name of integrity and putting these students first. In order to avoid this, we ask that every time you receive an essay that you put the essay into suggesting mode. You can do this by clicking editing on the top right hand corner of the Google Docs and turn on suggesting. Suggesting will track all changes that you make to the document so so that the students can see any corrections or changes that you make. We ask that you only use suggestions strictly for punctuation or grammar corrections. For example, if a student forgot an apostrophe, or if they forgot to put a period in, then that might be a time where you use suggesting. We ask for all other comments, you just use the comments feature of Google Docs, and you can do that by highlighting the line that line or the words that that comment pertains to, and then clicking the little comments bubble as shown on this slide with the red arrows. We ask that any changes you want to make, word choice suggestions, sentence placement, anything like that, you would make through comments. And in this way, we can ensure that you are not writing any part of the essay for the students, and that they are able to choose to make these corrections to their own essays themselves. Additionally, it was brought up to us, we will encourage the students to make comments before they share their essays with us, so that if they have any particular problems that they think their essay has, it can be more of a conversation between you and the students. So please use the comments as a tool to help these students improve their essays. A couple other guidelines that we have is to not be too harsh on the students. Please give them constructive criticism. Tell them what they're doing well on and not just what they can improve on. So I ask that after you have gone through their essay, picked out all the things that they can improve on, that you do go back and point out 2 or 3 things that they did well on. Because this is supposed to help the student more in the future. Things to be cognizant of: every time I send you an essay, I am requiring that the student give us their name, their high school, the essay's prompt, word count limit, as well as if the essay is for a scholarship or college application. Please make sure that these essays meet all the requirements before you send back the edits. So for example, it might seem obvious, but in the process of writing the essay, sometimes we forget to answer the prompt. So please reread the prompt and make sure the essay answers the prompt in every single part of it. Additionally, these essays have notoriously low word count limits, so we ask that you also check and make sure any of the edits or the essay's length in general is not too far off of the word count limit that it would not be eligible to be turned in for these applications. And lastly, just keep in mind the different nuances between a scholarship or college essay. A scholarship essay, you are asking this program for money, so if there are any blatant displays of economic privilege that might hurt their application and might not help them get the scholarship, please make them aware of that and be cognizant of these things when you're looking through them. Additionally, these are personal statements. Be prepared for sensitive material in this essay. We ask that when you are reading these essays that you keep an open mind. If there's anything especially concerning that a student might share in their essays, I ask that you email our executive director, Raj, at his email right there. Me and Raj are always open to helping the students, and we will try our best to reach out and see what's going on with the student if there's anything that comes up. And then lastly, we ask that you ask questions throughout this process, because questions are the best tool for revisions. It helps us not rewrite the students' essays, and it helps the student think to rewrite their essays in better ways. So we ask that whenever you revise, you definitely continue to ask them questions and probe them so they can improve on these essays. So what does a good essay look like? So I came up with a couple tips. So for college application and scholarship essays, they have notoriously low word count limits. So it is important to be very, very intentional about your words, that every word conveys exactly what you want to say in as little amount of words as possible. So in this, I ask that we help the students use precise words and not big words. So I say this in a way to say that we should use the thesaurus very sparingly. We should use words that are precise and mean exactly what we want them to say in the shortest amount of words, but not in a way where we make every word as big as possible. So for example, we might want to use a thesaurus to look for a more accurate word, but not make all the words bigger. It shouldn't read very difficult. The language should be very conversational. So for example, Irritated might be a better word to use than furious, but we don't need to use words like splenectic or very big words that people don't usually use in conversation. That leads to my next point about language. We should avoid language that is too casual or formal. Our aim is a conversational languages in these essays. Additionally, college application admissions officers and these scholarship program readers um, read essays all the time and hear idioms or common phrases like don't judge a book by its cover. If you do run into any of these idioms, encourage the student to reword these idioms in a more unique way with figurative language in their own voice so that it doesn't sound repetitive to all these officers and readers who are judging these essays. Next, I want to emphasize that these application essays are short and they don't follow the typical 5-paragraph structure that maybe every academic or expository essay may follow. Encourage them to be creative. If the student's essay is pretty solid, it looks like very strong, and it looks like they can handle it, I would even ask that you suggest creative structures to help make their essay even more unique. So for example, if a student's writing about cooking, maybe we should use words that are precise and mean exactly what we want them to say um, in the shortest amount of words, but not in a way where we make every word as big as possible. So for example, we might want to use a thesaurus to look for a more accurate word, but not make all the words bigger. It shouldn't read very difficult. The language should be very conversational. So for example, irritated might be a better word to use than furious, but we don't need to use words like splenectic or very big words that people don't usually use in conversation. That leads to my next point about language. We should avoid language that is too casual or formal. Our aim is a conversational languages in these essays. Additionally, college application admissions officers and these scholarship program readers um, read essays all the time and hear idioms or common phrases like don't judge a book by its cover. If you do run into any of these idioms, encourage the student to reword these idioms in a more unique way with figurative language in their own voice so that it doesn't sound repetitive to all these officers and readers who are judging these essays. Next, I want to emphasize that these application essays are short and they don't follow the typical 5-paragraph structure that maybe every academic or expository essay may follow. Encourage them to be creative. If the student's essay is pretty solid, it looks like very strong, and it looks like they can handle it, um, I would even ask that you suggest creative structures to help make their essay even more unique. So for example, if a student's writing about cooking, maybe suggest that they format it in the form of a recipe, or if the student's writing about a theater performance, maybe in the form of a script. Really encourage them to be creative and show themselves in these essays. Again, I do encourage you to use these sparingly and make sure the student is at a place in their writing where they can handle it. But if not, if you think they can, encouraging them to be creative will only help their application. Um, Another thing is I encourage in these essays for us to encourage them to use anecdotes and not stories. Anecdotes are brief, revealing accounts that set the scene at the peak of the drama. So basically, they tell where something happens by describing it with their 5 senses, and then it immediately tells what happens. Anecdotes help make sure that the story isn't too long, there isn't too much backstory, in a lot of these writings. Because the word count is short anyways, we want to emphasize that reflection might be the most important aspects of these essay applications. So in that, I encourage you to encourage them to use the 1/3, 2/3 rule, where the first third of their essay might be the anecdote and describing the story and what happened exactly at the peak of the drama a little bit. Make sure it's like an enticing account full of sensory and visualization so that the reader can really imagine what's happening in it. And then the last 2/3 of the essay should be the student reflecting on the paper and what they learned in the moment. So there should always be two voices in these. The first voice with the student telling the story, and the last 2/3 with the student reflecting on it. For stereotypical essays, rarely is it a good idea to write about a breakup, volunteering, winning a game, or general interests like art. To avoid very stereotypical essays, we encourage you to encourage the students to be super specific and reflective. Make sure they don't just say that this moment changed them, but explain how they have been changed by these moments. I also encourage you to encourage them if they're writing about volunteering or service, to be aware of any privilege complexes that might come off out of it. If it sounds like overly like they have a savior complex and that they're going in to help the underprivileged, and it sounds like it's worded in a way that might hurt their applications, please make them aware of it. And if you have questions, please always talk about it with us, and we're always happy to give a second set of eyes in cases like this. The next thing is, for essays that are supposed to be about the students' heroes, make sure they aren't 100% about the heroes, but more about them and how they connect with these heroes themselves. And then for why us essays, encourage the students to mention specific things, specific college programs, places on campus, university professors are all things that can't be replicated at other colleges. And the specifics make it so much more convincing that this college is the right choice for that student. So we do ask that if it is a why us, encourage the students to mention super specific things from that college. So I just want to go ahead and go through this example so that we can better see the difference between suggesting and commenting and how this process should look like in general. The first thing you do when you receive an essay, you should go to the top right-hand corner and turn on suggesting mode. That way it can track all your changes. If you would like, you can go ahead and pause the video right here and read through this short essay and play again when you're ready, and I'll go through and discuss some of the things I noticed. Okay, so after you have read this, I would say the first thing I noticed is the prompt and the word count are at the top of the essay, just like I said I was. Please keep this in mind as you're going through the essay. A couple comments I left were that you are what you eat is a common idiom. Ask them to correct it. Talk about how maybe food is important. I also offered word choice help, saying delicious might be a better word than amazing here. I also talked about switching the third and fourth sentence. I noticed I did both of these through a comment. In no way was I rewriting the student's essay. I'm just offering suggestions for the students. In this line, they're not very specific. It would make their essay so much stronger if they can give specific examples on how the food at Boston University might be diverse or inclusive. If you notice, there are a couple of typos in here. I would go ahead and correct those typos for eminence and all. Notice that these are just straight grammar corrections, punctuation. They forgot an apostrophe. We're not rewriting the essay in any way. We're just recorrecting misspelled words. So that would be okay to use suggestions through. Notice how it tracks this so that the student can also see and improve on their essay. And lastly, I did go back and give them a couple of positive comments, mentioning the BU Hub was very specific, and it was very strong how they use food and Boston University as a metaphor for its diversity of the student body. So please remember to give them a couple positive comments. The last thing I would point out is before texting me to let me know that you have finished editing the essay would be checking that the essay is in like a reasonable word count. So you can do this if you didn't already know by highlighting the words that you would like to check the word count. Obviously, we wouldn't be including the prompt in this, so I would highlight. I would go to tools and word count. It says right here we are at 219 words, which gives the student enough room to answer a couple of the questions and stay under the 250 word count limit. Obviously, this is not a perfect edit. These are just a couple of the things that I've caught upon reading the essays first, and you can definitely go more in depth and help the student improve their essay as much as you can. This is just an example to really show you what editing will look like. So with that, I just want to wrap up a couple things. I first want to say that my phone number and email will be shared in this follow-up. If you have any questions, um, concerns, please email me or text me. I'm always open and available to hearing your concerns as well as suggestions. This essay program is something that I have just started, and I'm always looking for ways to improve it. So if you want to talk or have questions or any of that, please feel free to contact me. Additionally, included in this email is a PDF guidebook that I have made that goes over everything we talked about in this training video. Please feel free to reference that as you're editing these students' papers. Um, Secondly, a non-disclosure agreement is also attached onto this email. I ask that you fill it out, send it back to me. As soon as I receive that, I will send you a background check. And once we have received both of those things, we'll be ready to start sending you essays and helping our students. The next thing I want to talk about is follow-ups. Please also let me know in this reply email if you are okay with following up with the students. What this follow-up entails is after you have edited the students' essays, you've texted me to notify me. Whenever I send the notification email to the students, I will also CC you on that email so that if the students have any questions about any of your suggestions or feedback, they can reach out to you. Again, this is completely optional, but please let us know if you would like to opt in for these follow-ups. The next thing I want to talk about is we are going to make a GroupMe for all of our essay readers. GroupMe, whenever you join, you download an app or you can use it on a web browser. You can share. The next thing I want to talk about is GroupMe. We will be having a GroupMe for all of our essay readers. GroupMe does not share your personal phone number or email. The only thing it shares is your profile picture if you choose to have one, as well as your name. This is just a way for other readers to talk to each other as well as talk to me. In case maybe you need a second set of eyes, you can ask these readers, and if anyone's available, you guys can work together one-on-one to discuss any part of the essays. You can always opt out or ask me if you have questions on how to use GroupMe. But please let me know. I will be adding you to the GroupMe as soon as I receive your non-disclosure agreement. And lastly, I just want to thank you all for becoming an essay reader. I know our students appreciate it so much, and so do we at the Momentum team. Um, we work really hard to help our students, and we're really, really glad to have you on the team. So if you could now just remember to do the following action items after watching these trainings, send us the non-disclosure agreement, tell us if you would like to have follow-ups, as well as get the background check done as soon as we send that back to you. Thank you.